Have you been searching for that next level upgrade? Ready to invest into something that is in it for the long haul? Well, look no further than the composited innovations provided by Prime. These customly crafted pieces are handmade by former Jason Johnson Racing car chief and Prime owner-operator Clyde Cadiff. Prime Composite Innovations is located centrally in Missouri and is looking to provide that big-time performance at a fraction of that big-time price. For additional information, visit prime-composites.com today to see what they have to offer, as well as their stable of current full-time drivers that trust Prime with their ride. For the future of innovations, with the properly composited type, you can depend, move forward, and rely on Prime. So, one thing that is, I will say it, beneficial to be a NASCAR driver coming to dirt and trying it out. I think the one hurdle that maybe even a Ricky Thornton Jr. faced in going from the super late model to the wing sprint car, and maybe some other guys who are from the fendered world per se, or even non-wing world per se, that go into the wing stuff. I think the one thing that the wing car does that none of these other cars do, speed, sensations, G-forces, things of that sort. If you've never been in a wing sprint car on dirt and you're used to super late models or non-wing sprint cars, when you jump into that wing car, you're going 20 to 40 miles per hour faster than you've ever been in your life. Things are happening quicker. The closing rates are quicker. Everything's just faster in the world around you when you up your physical body mass moving 20 to 40 miles per hour faster than you've ever experienced before in your life. The G-forces, when you go and throw the car into the corner, you're getting the loads you're feeling are greater than any loads you've ever felt. It's just a whole mind-blowing process when you have never been faster on an oval than in a wing sprint car. Now, I think that's where a Ty Gibbs or even a Chase Elliott do have an advantage, we'll say a little of an advantage, in coming from NASCAR into wing sprint cars versus a non-wing guy, a late model guy, a micro guy, whatever, versus somebody who's never done it. Because the NASCAR vehicles, they do get over that 160, 170, 80, 90, 200 mile per hour mark, and there is some sensations at some of their tracks that are higher loads than in that wing sprint car. What I'm saying is the speeds and everything, and we've even Keith Coons, when me and Keith Coons talked about Larson and Bell going back and forth, it slows down. He was saying, they say when they go over the dirt, asphalt, everything just kind of slows down. And it's true. Some of you in the iRacing world have experienced this yourself. Say you're a dirt guy most of the time in iRacing, and you go and run a cup race, or you run the cup series or this series or truck series for a week or so or a couple days, and you come back to the dirt stuff and everything's just happening kind of slower. And that's because of that speed, that sensation, the literal reality moving slower around you. So I do think that is where a straight up NASCAR driver can have the advantage over a straight up dirt guy who hasn't went to the wing sprint car level yet. And that goes a long way. Now, there is something to say for that, even though the speeds are not as high as NASCAR, and the loads are at some points not as high, but because you probably still pull a lot of G's when you're running, for instance, entering turn 3 at Williams Grove. They don't really have that in the NASCAR or domain, where you're running 135, 140, and then you just dip the car into the corner and shoot that direction. The car's going that way. You heard Lewis Hamilton talk about it with Formula One. The strenuous task of driving these vehicles, the physical aspect is when you point the car a direction, it's going that way, but your body is still heading in this trajectory. So you're having to really the physical aspect is holding on to the steering wheel while turning it, because you're literally kind of holding your body weight into it. That's why seats are more important. for physical adaptation and things like that. That's why they say the drivers back in the day without their headrest and encased body, it was way harder because they were holding their whole body in there, where now you're kind of almost just holding your arms. Also, kind of why a skinnier person has a little bit better aspect to it, because the shoulder mass and upper body isn't as heavy. You ain't having to hold on to a lot of weight in that loaded situation. So you're not having to exert as much if you're a skinny armed, skinny shouldered person to be able to hold on to that steering wheel. Now, once again, you go to dip that car into the corner at Williams Grove in turn 3, you probably get pretty close to the sensation of gradually dipping a car into one at Atlanta potentially. I'm not saying it's the same, maybe a peak. It's definitely not as big of a corner. But I'm just saying there are some aspects that, due to the quickness of our racetracks and due to the fast speeds with the wings, you're literally a jet on the ground. There are some aspects probably where a NASCAR driver's at a disadvantage versus a late model or a non-wing guy, because, or hell, even some 360 guys, because of the quickness of things that are happening on the racetrack. So that's where I think most NASCAR people will struggle, is how much you really got to be up on the wheel. And maybe, depends on the racetrack, obviously, track shape, things of that sort. Do you want to be up on the wheel a lot? Who knows? Like if you took a NASCAR driver to Knoxville and the track's tacky and wide open, or an IndyCar guy, they may be extremely good at doing that because the loads aren't going to surprise them. It's big, wide, sweeping corners. The speeds aren't going to surprise them. It's slower than they're used to. And you don't really need to be up on the wheel. But if you take a Ty Gibbs, and this is why I was so impressed with the Chase Elliott, you take him to a Merced or a Silver Dollar or a Williams Grove, probably one of the most technical tracks, I think, is Williams Grove. They might be a fish out of water a little bit. Who knows? Who knows? But it'll definitely be impressive, especially with this being Vegas. If he does run at Vegas next week, to see what happens. Obviously, jumping into the big waters in a way with high limit. He looks good in practice. The only other thing that I think a lot of these NASCAR drivers are going to have an issue with, the competition level is just that damn high. It is just that damn high. If you put Chase Elliott in the World Outlaw event back when he tried the 360, will he make the show? I don't know. We saw Kyle Busch in a super late model a couple years ago at Volunteer Bulls Gap. He needed a provisional, got lapped twice. I mean, there are instances where guys are just not on par for the talent depth that this industry has. Another must-have product for some of you out there, and I have hands-on experience in this now, is the optics from Deatherage Certified Opticians. With drivers like Jonathan Davenport in the late model world and Donnie Schatz in the sprint car world utilizing these HD fog and glare resistant lenses, they have racked up millions of dollars. Yes, millions of dollars on the racetrack, especially JD. This same technology can be utilized in the world outside of racing. When I got my pair, my biggest notice in using them is driving. Previously, a nice scene of mountains or just some country prairies or trees or lakes or something as you're driving down the highway would be somewhat of a blur at extreme distances. But when I put this pair on, I feel like I could see the leaves on a damn branch from a half mile away. The scenes and views are just literally enhanced. At night, it used to be horrible in trying to either drive in the rain or dodging white-tailed deer in the middle of the night leaving these tracks that are located in BFE. But with these optics from Deatherage, the anti-glare technology meant for the racetrack transfers into defeating those horrific LED lights on the egotistical maniacs out there in their 2004 souped-up pickup trucks on 35s. Whether you already have glasses or think you may need some, this is the way to go. And he supports motorsports. I mean, this is a full around 100%, good for you, good for him, good for everybody in the motorsports world. And with the wide range of styles I saw within his shop, it opens the possibilities to all walks of life inside and outside of racing. Call Greg today at 940-733-2843 or visit DeatherageOpticians.com. DeatherAge Opticians.com. And hey, let them know that you heard about him on the show.